This is a podcast from The Bugle.
The tent stands white against the rolling English countryside, its meringue peaks gleaming under a hesitant British sun. The air is thick with the mingling scents of butter, vanilla, and faintly overheated camera equipment, promising the deeply soothing excitement of yet another season of the Great British Bake Off. Inside, countertops gleam, mixers hum, and the watchful eyes of the judges turn to catch the best light. But somewhere in the tent, among the innocent flour-dusted smiles and nervous glances, a murderer stands, pretending to preheat their oven. A piercing scream shatters the sugary serenity, a body crumpled by an open oven, face down in a pool of cherry-red glaze. Scattered round the lifeless form, shards of shattered bakeware, a mangled recipe card, and... The Gargle! Welcome to The Gargle, the sonic glossy magazine to the Bugle's audio newspaper for a visual world. I am your host, Alice Fraser, bringing you all of the news and none of the politics. Your guest editors for this week's edition of the magazine are Athena Kugblenu. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's a delight. And Dan Ilic, how are you?
It's good to be with you. I am very sweaty in my southern hemisphere.
Well, before we sit together in the soaking sauna that is this week's top stories, let's have a look at the front cover of this week's magazine. The front cover of this week's magazine is Francis Ford Coppola standing on the top of a tower of unsold Megalopolis DVDs. Teetering precariously, and the satirical cartoon is the faces of the people who were watching Megalopolis, a commentary in themselves. This week's top story is the news that a Stanford professor of lying and technology has been accused of lying about technology. Athena, you understand technology. Can you unpack this story for us?
I understand technology and I understand bloody liars. Okay, so we've got a guy, okay, and he is like a professor of lying, okay, and he's decided to demonstrate how technology can lead to misinformation. And he works at Stanford, and I know nothing about Stanford. It's that they talk about it a lot in movies, so it's a good university. Okay, like, yeah, I went to Stanford, and I think the aliens are coming. Like, so the aliens are coming, and someone from Stanford says that it's happening. So this is a good university because it's in the movie. Hollywood says so. And he studies misinformation, and he wrote a paper, right? And you cite other papers when you write a paper. He cited papers, get this, guys, that do not exist. He made it up. Okay? So what is real anymore? Why is Professor of Lying writing a paper on misinformation using misinformation? Is anything real? Do new socks feel like new socks? Or is it the Matrix? Like, I don't know who to trust. I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah.
It's not even artisanal fibbing. Like, he didn't even fake his own citations. People are suspecting this of being AI hallucinations of the citations, where he's gone to one of these engines and said, "Oh, what are the citations?" This is one of the problems of the large language models, is that people treat them like they're a search engine, but they are a search engine that cheats on its homework, because if they don't know the answer, they will just make it up, and you can't check because Google's itself.
Yeah, Google is stuff. I saw someone with a Google search today of Steven Spielberg, and they put a screen cap of what Google Images came back, and Google Images came back with several pictures of old men that were generated in AI that looked nothing like Steven Spielberg. And it's like, well, you can't even trust Google Images anymore, because Google Images is harvesting its own images, harvesting AI images, thinking that they're Steven Spielberg, and they're not. Oh, yeah, information is done for. I agree with you, Athena. Information is over. There's been too much quantitative easing of information. For a long time, we didn't have any information, but then information just came through. They're like, we got to get more information out. More information will fix the information economy. Now the information economy is too full of information, and the information economy is bankrupt. We're all done. We need to detox everything when it comes to do with anything with information. No more information.
What we need is to bring back CD-ROMs, because we never had this problem with CD-ROMs, and we'll bring back Encarta. Okay, nothing was wrong with Encarta. Nothing. You put your CD-ROM in and you type in butterflies or whatever your homework was, and you got your homework, and then you cut and paste whatever you needed, and then you got an A, and that was it. And no one batted an eyelid. No one batted an
Athena,
eyelid. So
if
bring
you
back
would like to come
Encarta.
over to my house, I did print the internet in 1998, and I do have a printed copy of all the information available to humankind from 1998, and it's in my cupboard. So you're more than welcome to come around and browse through that, leaf through that at your own leisure.
I think you're so right, Dan. I think it's information inflation. In the olden days, you used to be able to buy a loaf of bread for a song, and now you have to take a wheelbarrow of facts even to get a slice of bread to make fairy bread on for your child's starving birthday. I think this is pretty devastating. Do you have a solution, Dan?
I don't have a solution, but I know this is a podcast bereft of politics, but I do like that the actors in this story who were ripping this guy apart were Republicans saying, no, we need freedom of speech. Our machines need to have the freedoms that we all have, like speech and guns. Please be guns next. Yes, please give these machines guns to shoot us all. Hopefully they shoot us with fake bullets. I mean, that would be ideal that they manufactured these bullets as well.
Could you
But
imagine like an Apple gun? Sorry to interrupt. No, go. Sorry, go. Carry on.
there you go.
It's got
Apple gun.
like an Apple smartwatch gun, and it tells you how many steps you've done. And it's got like a little heart rate monitor on it and stuff like that. Like, why not bring health technology into guns? That's what I'm saying.
I think it's a great idea because you don't buy, because just like printers, guns make their money on the bullets, and so Apple could sell you bullets as well, which would be great. With a brand new chip, one would go twice as fast as the bullet from the year before. It'll be great.
Your ad section now, because you can't be what you can't buy. And this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Couples Hiking, for people who want to have the same arguments but with blisters. Find out how life-changing the view from the top of that mountain isn't when the only thing you take away is sore quads. Couples Hiking. Take only photographs, leave behind only your previous certainty that your partner would have your back in a life and death situation when they promptly shove you at what they thought was a bear. And this episode of the podcast is brought to you by the new low-alcohol James Bond. James Bond strolls into a whiskey-soaked cocktail bar up the posh end of the Burj Khalifa. James Bond, suit pristine despite the desert dust outside, locks eyes with the bartender. Water, he says, sharp as a blade. Someone snorts. Water? What is this, a tea party? Bond smirks faintly, lifting up the glass as if it were a loaded pistol. Hydration keeps you sharp. You should try it. His eyes are riveted at the cynical gaze of the gazelle-like blonde in the corner. Bond slowly tips half the glass to the floor and drinks. Half a glass, twice the intrigue. Half a glass of water. And a new novel is out by self-published romance maven and online bestseller Dancy Lagarde. Spray-Painted Hearts is the third in the street crime and heart time series of 80s romance detective novels with a supernatural twist. In the neon-drenched chaos of 1987 New York City, Tag is king. With his leather jacket, wild charisma, and unparalleled talent for graffiti, he leads the urban art crew, Neon Wreckage, tagging the city with bursts of rebellious colour. For him, every wall is a canvas, every night a battle cry against the werewolf skateboard gangs that encroach on his graffitiing territory. Enter Veronica Frost, the steely VP of Frost and Steel Developments, the inventors of the hypercolor slap band and corporate business trading money company. Ruthless, calculating, and clad in immaculate powersuits that cling luxuriously to her buxom bosom, she's determined to transform the Lower East Side into a sleek business hub with no graffiti. She needs to prove that a woman can make it in power, even if she's a werewolf. She's not going to get all emotional round the full moon. When their worlds collide, Veronica catching Tag mid-tag on her newly purchased building, sparks fly. They have an ill-advised but imaginative one-night stand amid the chimney stacks, and Tag knows Veronica is his fated mate. But she's got a business plan, and it doesn't involve falling in love. Their chemistry is electric, but they are on opposite sides of an irreconcilable war. Tag sees beauty where Veronica sees destruction, and she embodies everything he despises about corporate greed and werewolves and boobs. Yet behind her alternately icy and furry exterior, Veronica is haunted by her own demons. Can their passion transcend the divide between art and ambition, or will the walls they've built, both literal and emotional, tear them apart? Spray-Painted Hearts is a smoldering tale of rebellion, redemption, And boobs.
Alice, that was just wonderful. You should try and get that option to Apple TV because they will put bloody a Hemsworth in that, and it's going to be great.
You can put a Hemsworth in anything, is what I say. Our next top story is that apparently, while Generation Z reports being incredibly afraid of AI, most of Generation Z are using AI. Dan Ilic, you're not so far removed from Gen Z. Can you unpack this story for us?
Oh, thank you. As my mother, Rebel Wilson, would say, I'm looking younger every day. Thanks, Mum. Yeah, Gen Z. I didn't think I'd be the old man saying this, but God, they don't like to work, do they? Those Gen Z. No, apparently, according to this Axios article, 93% of Gen Z, in between the ages of 22 and 27, are using one or two or more AI tools each week as part of their jobs. You have to admire that. That other 7% that aren't using AI. They're kicking it old school. They're using their brain to do labor. They're like the new hipster class. They're so cool. They're using Microsoft Word from 2015, like they know stuff. They probably go ahead and turn Grammarly off as well. 79% of millennials say they use 2 or more of these tools a week. That's a relief to me because as an elder millennial, I read the first line of this story and I thought, oh my God, this article is just going to be for geriatric millennials like me who are being very comfortable with the phrase back in my day. So yeah. Look, here's the thing. I do feel sorry for a certain class of people who do work in information labor, namely Philippine assistants, because I don't know if you have this in the UK, Athena, but in Australia, a lot of the executive class have assistants in the Philippines, or had, where they would get them to answer emails and things like that. Now, I have a friend who is actually going through a divorce, and she gets all of her emails sent to her assistant in the Philippines from her ex-wife, and then gets them translated into a much friendlier tone because her ex-wife, and gets those emails forwarded to her to a separate account, and then she gets to reply to them with the most vitriolic replies ever, and they go back to the Philippines, and then this woman in the Philippines takes those emails and civilizes this conversation back to her ex-wife.
Truly the devil's threesome.
We're not thinking about this kind of knowledge worker in Southeast Asia. They're going to be losing all of their jobs because Gemini can go ahead and do this straight away. In fact, for this podcast, I'm sorry, Alice, I don't know what your AI policy is I asked Gemini to please summarize this article with 3 jokes. And here we go. I mean, I'll just give you one of them because the other 2 are too terrible. AI might have your job someday, but hey, at least you have more time to perfect your avocado toast while robots do all the work. Thank you, Gemini. Thank you so much. Do you want one more? Here's another. I'll just give you another one. Even though everyone secretly uses AI at work, young people are the only ones who brag about it. Guess admitting to using fancy new tech is the new "I brought my lunch from home" for millennials. Look, it's still early days for Gemini, but there are 2 almost jokes there, and I can see in 10 years' time that our podcasts like this are just going to be scraped for our audio, and they're going to be making jokes like this at each other, put it into audio, and then republish for other people to listen. No one will know what is real anymore.
I'm surprised that any millennials or Gen Zers are getting away with not using AI at the moment, because it seems to be every single business has attached an AI assistant to its front page, desperately, like someone offering a Vegemite sandwich to someone just arrived in Australia. They're like, come on, try it, even though it's not what you want. And actually, much like Vegemite, AI is better the less you use it, as all good for...
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants these tools. Please take these tools away.
I'm sure there are brilliant use cases for them, but it's not like signing up for a bus pass,
It's sort of getting out of hand. this in this article, they're saying, oh, we use AI to get out of the drudgeries of work. What kind of drudgeries? The actual work? Like, yeah, like if you're paid to take notes in meetings and a machine comes along and takes those notes, wouldn't it be clever of you to take those bloody notes? Otherwise, you don't have a job anymore. And also, the last time I went to a meeting when I had a normal job, it was quite important to listen to what was being said in that meeting, because you tended to have to go to a meeting to kind of get information so you could know what to do next. So if now the computer knows and you don't know, the computer is now more valuable than you. And all of a sudden, it's the computer that's going to Christmas parties. It's the computer that's going to the executive box in Arsenal. You know, it's you. It's not you. It's the bloody MacBook enjoying the canapes. And you're thinking, why am I doing that? Well, you should have picked up a pen, shouldn't you? These kids, and let's be real now, we're older millennials, and these kids are going to be wiping our bums in 40 years' time. All right, we need to be getting these. We need to get them to pull their fingers out, because obviously that was a turn of phrase. But if they're not learning the meaning of hard work now, when I need someone to cut up my banana, are they going to do it, or are they going to be sat there like looking at their iPhone, going, "Cut banana now, please"? This is a real problem for us in the future. Get these kids not doing. If you can't take notes now, how are you going to brush my teeth? Is what I'm saying.
To be slightly contrarian about this, maybe this is like actually revealing the chasm in work culture of absolute bullshit nonsense work that never needed to be done in the first place. You know, same with universities. I think we need to go back to the like old school universities where it was just like 13 monks in a room and you get your degree by having a chat, and they'd be like, oh, well, he seems smart, make him a professor. Bring it back to that. None of this like like if the AI is just going to get better at cheating at essays, we need to take exams back to the point where it was like a duel with your professor, and if you kill him, you're the new professor. Like, bring it back old school.
That's really good. Yeah, that's like hands-on work. Because, you know, as a young person, when you're entering the workforce, you are given all these menial jobs to do, because that's just how you did it when you know, you were coming up in the workforce. So I relish the times when I got to, you know, give somebody notes to take or something like that, because it's like, rite of passage. I don't have to do it. Woo! Likewise, I'm really paying attention to a lot of executives who are saying that AI is the future. So I'm really practicing that sentence in front of the mirror. AI is the future, and we should be investing in AI, just in case someone sees me say it and wants to give me an executive position where I get to implement AI in a library or something.
Well, I mean, I reckon we need to be replacing the executives with AI.
Or Filipinos. Let's just free the Filipinos, man. And let's turn things around. We work for you now. We work for you.
Let's do it. Give me a call. I'm available. I got AI doing the rest of my work.
And that brings us to our reviews section. As you know, each week we ask our guest editors to review something out of 5 stars. Dan Ilic, what have you brought in for us this week?
I have been a recent homeowner as of the last year, and I have to tell you, there is few things that are more satisfying in my life than mowing the lawn. And so I'm reviewing mowing the lawn today. There is a certain satisfaction in going back and forth across my lawn with a machine that gives my lawn a little haircut. And one thing that kind of really buoys my enthusiasm for doing the lawn is that my life is so busy these days that I rarely get time to listen to podcasts. So if the lawn is long, I know I've got at least 2 or 3 American politics podcasts that can get me through it, and I'm going to have a really good time with it.
That's a humble brag about lawn size, if I ever heard one.
Well, I'm on the corner block, right? So I've kind of got to do and the other thing is I'm on the corner block, and also I have an electric mower, and the mower often needs to recharge. So it's not like I'm pumping fossil fuels through my mower to get it done. I'm plugging it into the sun, getting some sunshine into my mower, and getting the grass cut so I can listen to Pod Save America. But I was talking to my friend who does have quite a big lawn. He's Jacob Brown, who actually cuts my podcast. He lives on a big acreage, far away from any major city, down in Gargle. And he sent me a picture of him pushing a lawnmower. in his amazing paddock. And I was like, Jacob, you got to get a ride on. He's like, no, I can't get a ride on because it takes away from my podcast listening. I really love that. I just love that. I love that idea. Like, he'd rather mow the lawn with his push mower than get a ride on because he's got podcast listening to do too.
Out of 5 stars, how would you rate?
I give it 3.5. It's pretty good, but not super great.
I think I'm enamored of the idea that your lawnmower is powered by the sun, because you know what else is powered by the sun? Your lawnmower's nemesis, the grass.
All we're doing is battling the sun against each other. Oh, no.
The ultimate own goal. Athena, what have you brought in for us this week?
I've brought in something that everyone comments on it when they see it, so I feel like I need to share it with the world. And it's my massive phone, but it's not a massive phone. It's a normal sized phone in a child-proof cover. So my son is a thrower, and if people aren't familiar with what a thrower might be, it's just a child who throws everything. Okay, and it's not, that's basically it. So my son's a thrower, and I don't know if he's going to be a fast bowler or a rioter, but praying for one of them. He'd be good in either situation, a test or a riot. But this phone can be thrown off a house. True story. It can be thrown into a bathtub, and it has been. And it's dust-proof as well. And I just want to. But the only problem is it's screwed into place. It's like Robocop. You know, Robocop has to unscrew his helmet to take his helmet off. That is genuinely how I have to take off this phone cover. I've got to unscrew it. But I would recommend this phone cover to anyone, even if your child is not a thrower or even if you're not around throwers, because it's a good conversation starter, because not one person has not failed to mention how big my phone is. And I don't like talking. So it's been quite useful for someone like me who just would prefer to sit in silence because, your phone's big. I'm like, thank God, let's start talking. So yeah, I've got, my phone is protected, and it's done something about my awkwardness as well.
Athena, have you thought about getting a contract?
A new son, yes. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say something even more terrible. Have you thought about phone Zempic for your phone?
Phone Zempic? Oh, like to deflate my phone.
Yeah, to deflate your phone. Yeah.
To deflate my phone. I have thought about it, and I think, to be honest, my phone should just have more willpower. I think my phone should use willpower, actually. So I've thought about it, but I'm not going to succumb. I'm not.
I'll also share my phone with you. You don't know if you can tell, but my phone is actually stuck together via sticky tape. Oh. I've got sticky tape holding shards of glass in my phone together because not only is your son a thrower, but I also am a thrower.
Can't come in my house, ever. You're not allowed.
Okay.
Shoe story now, and this is the news that a kindergarten in Japan has finally solved a mystery of shoe theft in a surprising way. Athena Kugblenu, you wear shoes sometimes. Can you unpack this story for us?
Absolutely. AP have reported this, the most prestigious of the news organisation. Don't quite know why, but it just is. So that's how it is. Tokyo, when you see the brackets, AP close brackets, like, official. You know, they really are dead because AP said so. Right. So in the Tokyo office of AP, okay, police thought a shoe thief was on the loose at a kindergarten, which is a disgusting foot fetish if I've ever heard one. A shoe thief. Because children's feet are the worst smelling feet in the world. Like, what have you been doing? Oh my, what do you eat all day? Shit and cheese. It's disgusting. So if you're stealing children's shoes, you've got a real problem. Like, children's school shoes are like, so let's get that out of the way. So police thought a shoe thief was on the loose at a kindergarten in southwestern Japan. Okay. But luckily, they film everything in Japan, and there was a security camera that caught the culprit. It was a weasel. And this weasel had this tiny shoe in its mouth, and it was basically stealing the shoes. And they said, and I quote, "It was great. It turned out to not be a human being." I could not agree more. Because if it was a human being, that burn that human on the stake, because it's like that's not appropriate behaviour at all. There's no one on OnlyFans going, "Can I have a child's shoe, please?" No one's paying for that. So you weirdo. But it was a weasel. And obviously, as we know, in Japan, in lots of cultures, you're not supposed to wear shoes indoors. So if you like shoes, go live in Japan, because they're everywhere. And weasels obviously realised that. So I don't know if this weasel moved to Japan or if it's a Japanese weasel. We don't know if it's an immigrant weasel. But get this, it stole 15 shoes before they called the police. Could you imagine? So nobody was bothered about these shoes disappearing. And then instead of kind of like doing their own investigations, they called the police, which I think is quite a step up. in like, if someone steals like, it's the safe or the children, I'd be like, yeah, call the police. These things are quite important. But if shoes go missing, you just think, for me, it's not a police matter. And anyway, it's not a police matter. It's an animal matter.
For me, the immediate assumption, if people are stealing single children's shoes, is that they're making haunting tableaus, because there's something very existential about a single child's shoe just sitting on a wall somewhere. It really like makes you think.
Yeah. Ring a rosy,
Yeah.
only one shoe there.
It's very Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Like that's all that's left. After AI kills us all, the only thing that will be left is one single child's shoe and cockroaches. That's it. But there's a lovely detail in this story. The weasel, it only stole white canvas shoes because they were the lightest. It was a lazy weasel. It likes shoes, but not that much. I'm not breaking my back for it, which is hilarious.
See, that doesn't sound like a lazy weasel to me. That sounds like a weasel who's got a penchant for Pims and tennis on the weekend.
Posh weasel.
A middle class weasel. Oh my god, it's hilarious. On its yacht. People stay woke. It's still on the loose. That's the last sentence in this article. I shit you not. It's still on the loose, guys.
Nail your shoes down. No, don't do that.
They've covered the shoes with a net like strawberries. So the weasel can't get to it. So it hasn't hidden the shoes, so the weasel can look at the shoes like longingly, but it can't get to them because of the net, which I think is quite cruel, actually. But there you go.
It's a good moniker, isn't it? Like, to be called the shoe weasel is pretty good. Like, the shoe weasel. He's taking the shoes again. Mm-hmm.
As a jewel thief, steal the diamonds and leave a single haunting child's shoe in a safe so that people are too existential to call the police.
It's like the Zodiac murder. It's his calling card. It's like instead of a watch, it's just like a little shoe,
little canvas plimsoll. And that brings us to our final story of this week's episode of The Gargle. More animal news, or is it news now, which is a bear that has been damaging luxury cars has been unmasked. Dan Ilic, you are a man with a series of faces. Can you unpack this story for us?
Yes, thank you. And like the weasel story, this story also, Athena, you'll love to find out, is from the AP as well. The AP, the Associated Press, bringing all the animal news
Slow
to the
news
Bugle.
week on Earth, apparently.
Okay, so there's been a bit of concern around the San Bernardino Mountains, just outside of Los Angeles. Apparently, a bear has been moving in to the area where there are lots of really expensive cars like Mercedes and Rolls-Royce. And there have been photos and videos of this so-called bear ripping into the seats and causing damages to these cars. And it looks like insurance companies have been up for about $142,000 worth of damages. But upon investigation by the Californian Insurance Department, it wasn't a bear at all. It was merely 4 people in bear costumes going around destroying these cars. It is. It's quite remarkable the lengths that these people have gone to destroy their own cars to get the insurance money for these cars. And look, California does have some bear problems in the north of the state, in the high Sierras. It's quite often you would see bears going around and picking at stuff, but like not in the San Bernardino Mountains. They're kind of a bit lower. They're not kind of really the place you would see bears, but somehow they thought this was a good idea. The detectives on the case actually found bear suits in these four people's homes, and the big question is, do these four people have attorneys? Well, I don't know. It's just so funny. It's like, do they try out one Mercedes and go, this Mercedes is too soft. This Mercedes is too hard. This Rolls Royce is just right. It is extraordinary, the photos that the AP has found of this bear costume. So you not only got a very fluffy bear costume, but you've got what appears to look like Edward Scissorhands-esque scraping tools that you can attach to the paws to cause maximum damage.
It's like Wolverine claws.
Exactly, like Wolverine claws. These are bearverines that are going and destroying these cars. And it's so weird because the way the photos have been laid out, it looks like the bears have kind of got like a little waistcoat, like Yogi Bear. And maybe these people have just, copped too many cartoons in their life, and they mistook a phantom Rolls Royce for a picnic basket.
This is such a bizarre story that I think it has to be being done in light of like a long con. This is LA after all. So I think that this is like, they're not even planning on the insurance payout. They're planning on the payout for the rights to the movie about the bear gang. Like, I think they're playing 4D chess here.
Have you seen Cocaine Bear? It's that.
Yeah, Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
I have not seen Cocaine Bear, but I have read the title of Cocaine Bear, so I feel like I've effectively seen Cocaine Bear. I feel like that's
Everything
enough I need to know.
Is in the title. Yeah. Yeah, insurance fraud bear isn't as catchy as Cocaine Bear.
What if there are no bears? What if all the bears are just people dressing up as bears? Because I always think bears look like people dressing up as bears. Don't they? The way they just kind of stroll around like, hey, they all look like football mascots, don't they? Pandas. Yeah. All the bears look like people dressed up as bears. So are all the bears people dressed up as bears? That's my question.
Yeah, that would explain why bears are more scared of people than people are of bears, because the bears just think people are really naked bears. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode of The Gargle. I'm flipping through the ads at the back. Athena, have you got anything to plug?
Yeah, still the book, History's Most Epic Fibs. If you live in the UK, you can buy it for cheaper delivery charges than if you live outside the UK. But you can still buy it if you live outside the UK. You'll just pay more for delivery. But that means the words will taste better when you read them. That's so well worth buying the book, full of fibs from history.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
And Dan, have you got anything to plug?
Yeah, I've got a podcast. It's called A Rational Fear, but also I've got a fun web series which I made with an amazing Melbourne talent called Millie Holton. It is called Longhead. It is launched on TikTok. It stars Sam Campbell from UK's Taskmaster as the titular Longhead, and it's done about 4 million views in the last few weeks that we've put it up. So go to This Is Longhead on TikTok and check out the very stupid animated series that we've created there.
That sounds amazing. If I ever download TikTok, I will do that.
What you need to do is go and find some 20-year-olds who know how to use AI to create it for you.
And I'm Alice Fraser. You can find me online at patreon.com/Alice Fraser. It's a one-stop shop for all of my stand-up specials, podcasts, and blogs, as well as my twice-weekly writers' meetings and my weekly salons where we all get in a room and have a chat like this, but you'll have written fewer jokes if you come along to the salon, I assume. You can also buy my book, which is called A Passion for Passion, at unbound.com. That will be out and in your hands on the 6th of February. I'll also be doing a book tour in the UK in February, so have a look on my website, alicefraser.com, for the dates as they emerge, or just keep following the Patreon. I will announce all the dates there. Patreon.com/Alice Fraser. This is a Bugle podcast, an Alice Fraser production. Your editor is Ped Hunter. Your executive producer is Chris Skinner. I'll talk to you again next week.
Bye.
You can listen to other programmes from The Bugle, including The Bugle, Catharsis, Tiny Revolutions, Top Stories and The Gargle, wherever you find your podcasts.